So recording is on, and so we are going to start our batch today of the backend, right? And this in this class we are going to study, which is it will be an introduction to the backend. What is backend, and why do we need backend, right? And all those questions. And also we are going to start today itself the Node.js. Okay, that is the the overview of today's session. We'll see what backend is, and we'll also see what Node.js is, and we'll do some stuff with the Node.js. Okay. Cool. That is the overview of today's session. Okay. So before starting the session, so there are, some most frequently asked questions, right? FAQ. So what is like, what to expect from this course in terms of topics and their complexity. So what do you think? Yes, Saurav, you are allowed to turn on your mic to communicate with me until and unless you raise your hand. I from my side will, unmute your mic. Okay. Not like in between the session, you cannot turn on your mic. Okay. Yes, I know Hindi as well. That is not an issue. Okay. So what to expect from this course in terms of topics and their complexity? What do you think? What is your understanding, or what do you expect from this course? This is a direct question to you. Making servers and APIs. Okay. Managing data. Okay. So I'll say that what you can expect from this course is that you are going to create the whole backend side for your front end, right? You must have created a lot of front end side applications, right? Now you, after the end of this course, you will be able to make the full stack web app, right? And in terms of topics and their complexity, I'll say it's not complex. Okay. It's not that complex. It might be sometimes a little complex, in some topics or some use cases. But what I will say is, in terms of overall topic and complexity, if you follow the lectures and do the assignment, it's not going to be a challenge. Okay. That's what you can expect from this course. If you are attending the live lectures, right, regularly, and then, doing the assignments with time on time. Okay. So in terms of topics and their complexity, it will become very, low in terms of complexity. Okay. And how to make most out of this course to get the best learning experience. Again, I'll reiterate on this part again and again. Okay. So two things are there. It's my duty to make you understand the backend, right? And your goal should be at the end of this course, I will become a backend developer, right or wrong? 1 or 0 in the chat. That should be your expectations. At the end of this course, you should be able to be a backend developer, right or wrong? Correct? No, yeah, technically you will be a full stack web developer, but I'm saying at the end of this course, right? So that should be, so to maximize the learning experience, what I will say is watch the lectures, okay? Join the live lectures and join the live lectures on time, okay? Don't miss anything. And the second part is, which is the most important part, that is doing your assignments on time. Before coming to the next session, you must have solved the previous assignment. That is the key, okay? And if you follow these two things, which is joining the live session on time and doing the assignments, I promise you that you will become a backend developer at the end of this course, okay? Cool. Are we aligned on this, folks? Right? You will join the sessions on time and you will finish your assignments. Are we aligned on this? So one more important statement which I want to make is, I have observed the CAP batch. So what happens in CAP is that when you take an assignment, you must, you don't sometimes even open the assignment, right? Because you say you have excuses, I'm going to college, or I don't get time, right? But you have only 2 sessions in a week and probably 2 or 3 assignments in a week, right? So you can easily solve them. You just need to give some efforts from your side, right? So at least what I will say is, open the assignment and try to attempt it. Okay. That is like, it should be done in any case that you are attempting the assignments, opening the assignments. Okay. And the third question is, what should be the flow and thought process to work around the assignments and evaluations? What do you think? What should be the thought process? You have worked on the assignments and evaluations till now. So can you tell me what was your thought process or flow to solve the assignments and evaluations? If you want to answer, you can raise your hand. You can also, speak directly to me. Folks, come on. If this was not important, I would not have been, trying to explain this thing after the class. First make short notes and then watch video again and then solve. Okay. If failed, then rewatch the lecture and then try again. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is, this is called expectation setting of the course. So if you have joined the live lecture, okay, there is no need to rewatch the lecture until and unless it is needed. So I'll be providing you the notes. Those notes will contain all the things which we have learned in today's session, or on in that particular session. Go through those notes and then try to work on your assignments. Okay, and you should remember the things like, if you are joining a live lecture, right? So don't rewatch the lecture after finishing the lecture. Like, let us say this session will end at 10. Okay, so what you will do is make the notes in the session itself. Try to be attentive in the class and try to be, don't you don't need to take any notes or something. I'll provide you the notes. What I'm saying is, after the end of the session at 10 p.m., take a notebook and try to think what I learned in today's session and write down the notes. Okay, write down those pointers, not the notes, right? What I learned, what was the overcome of the session, right? And after the end of the session, what did I learn that I can use in my these applications, right? Websites. Okay, so the thought process should be to work around the assignments similarly followed by going through the notes, then thinking about what did I learn in today's session and how is this assignment related to it, right? Even if you have to learn a new thing in the assignments, it will be intentional. Okay, so you have to struggle a bit, right, in the assignments, and go through the official documentation. But that is the only path. There is no easy way to learn any development side, whether it be front end or back end, right? You will have to go through the official documentation and start reading it. And I'll be showing you how to read the documentation. Okay. So what was your approach of dealing with the issues in the previous blocks? So what do you think? What was your approach? Self-search? Google. Okay, so we have a couple of approaches right now before before the evaluation of this generative AI, right? We have right now ChatGPT with us, Gemini with us. Yeah, correct. We had Stack Overflow, right? We used to go to Stack Overflow, or try to connect with our colleagues or mentors and try to reach out for help and go through official documentation, right? But all of these things are eliminated right now, because most of the issues and errors which you are facing, or any issues, you can go directly right now to the ChatGPT, right, or Gemini, or any generative AI model, which is natural language processing model, right? You can go to it, you can say your query, and it will give you the result, right? So try to it's a tool right now. If you are very versed with the tool that is available in the market, and you are able to you know you use most out of these AI tools, then you will be a great developer, right? So try to do those things. Okay, so there is only one prerequisite of this course, that is JavaScript. So can you tell me in the chat how many of you have learned JavaScript? Is there anyone who has not learned JavaScript or studied JavaScript? You can type 0 in the chat. Anyone? So if you know JavaScript, you are good to go with this course. Okay. There is nothing you should know apart from JavaScript. Okay. Cool. So if you know the JavaScript, this is your first day. Okay. So if you know the JavaScript, you know how to write the scripts in JavaScript and how to use it, and you have, created something with the help of JavaScript, then you're good to go with this course. Okay. You don't need to worry about it. Just be focused in the sessions and solve the assignments. That's the key. Okay. Someone is saying I'm lagging behind in the advanced JavaScript. Not an issue. I'll tell you what to study also. You can self-study, right? You have time. So for work on your time management and try to, study those advanced JavaScript concepts, whatever it is, by your own. Okay. I'll provide the, all the resources with you. You can go through those resources and, try to study these JavaScript concepts by your own, which you should know at the start of this course, right? But if you are somehow lagging in them, I'll share the resources with you. Please go through them. Okay. That's not an issue. Cool. So the most prerequisite of this course is JavaScript. Okay. So another prerequisite of this course is that you should be very curious about how things are working. Okay. So let us say how many of you are curious that, when someone types something in the Google search, let us say we are typing Batman or Superman or anything in the Google search. So are you very curious, like how it works? How does it give us the data back? And how is it showing us the data? Are you curious about that? This is the prerequisite of any course, which wherever you go in the development side, you should be very, very much curious about things, right? You should be very much curious, and you should be, trying to think how they develop architecture, right? How is that a billion of user is coming, and their DB is able to handle it, their server is able to handle it, right? Millions and billions of users are searching the Google at the same time, right or wrong? So you should be curious about these things and research on your own about these things, right? We are going to learn all these things, but what I'm saying is, if you want to go in depth, that is my advice from my side. I'll share the resources, right? Again, I'm saying, so go through them and self study and try to complete your assignments. That is the main thing. Okay. Another thing is, which I want to tell you, if you are not well versed with these things, how many of you know JavaScript's event loop ES6? Can you type 1 or 0 in the chat? If someone doesn't know event loop, okay, I'm going to share the resources at the end of this session. Take a note of this. You have to study it. It's a very, important concept. Most of the things revolve around it, right? Not most of, I will say, like, yeah, most of the things revolve around event loop itself, right? So you have to go through it. And second thing is closures, promises, async await, fetch. And how many of you have done a get request, post request, put, patch, delete, all these things till now? In any way, nah, it doesn't matter how have you used it, but you should have used it in some way. Closures, promises, async await, right? I'm not talking about that, you have very aggressively done this, right? I'm just saying you have used it somewhere, right or wrong, till this journey, right? In this journey, till this point. Okay, so even if you have someone is saying that, even if you have done very basics of these concepts, that will work. Okay, the concept, you cannot judge the concept, the concept very basic, very advanced. Closure is closure. If you know it, you know it, right? It's just a concept, right or wrong? See, the thing is, you need to know how to think. Someone is saying, I didn't go deeply with closure. That is not an issue. What I'm saying is, do you know the concept of closure? You are by saying I didn't go deeply with closure, you mean to say implementation side, right? I didn't go very deeply with closures in the implementation side, but closure is just a concept, right or wrong? Implementation will do that, but you should be very well versed with what closure is and how it works. That's a concept. Okay. Don't go into syntactical part and implementation part. Okay. Then the third thing is, have you ever used an API? For example, the external APIs. Have you used REC-RES, weather APIs, or JSON server? Right or wrong? You have used these things, right? Okay. In just 2-3 sessions, I'll give you some excitement that you will be able to create your own JSON server. Okay. Which you have used till now, you will be able to create your own JSON server in just 2-3 sessions. Okay. But you need to practice. That's all. And the fifth thing, which is very important, which is attention to detail. You should be having, even if I encounter any error during the coding, that will be intentional to check how many of you have attention to detail and how many of you are able to debug that part. Okay. Are we aligned on these 5 things, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat quickly. Okay, cool. So some tips and tricks, that is, before coming to the this live session, yeah, sometimes you will be having a pre-class. Most of the times you will be having a pre-class. So go through the pre-class, then come to the live lecture. Okay, make sure, because it will be only 10-20 minutes pre-class, not more than that. And also read the notes. Okay, if in some cases the pre-class will not be a video, it will be notes. So you will have to read the notes, then come to the live session. That is a that will help you a lot. Okay, in your building your thought process. And the second thing is, which I will say is the key factor, that is try out things on your own. Okay, I'll give you some examples in this session itself, through which you will be able to understand what I mean by trying out things on your own. Okay, and you have to make a habit of reading documentation. nothing will be able to help you if you are not, if you don't have a habit of reading the documentation. Okay, you have to build a habit of reading the documentation, and you just what I said, that you have to be very curious about things, that are taught in the live class, or you have to explore the documentation on your own. Okay, and one more thing, which is a tip and advice from my side: don't fall into the trap of tutorial help. Okay, it's time costly to reading. Someone is saying it's time costly to reading a doc. I'll give you an example. If you have to read about Clojure, it will only take you 5 minutes. But if you watch a video on Clojure, it will take you a 1 hour, right or wrong? So it's not time costly to read the documentation. It's actually vice versa of that, right? So don't fall into the tutorial hell. Don't go to the YouTube and start watching the tutorials and all. That won't help you. You have to go to the documentation and start implementing it. Okay, that is the only thing. ठीक है? And जब भी whenever you will feel that you need help चाहिए किसी भी केस में, clarification चाहिए किसी भी केस में, you need to be very proactive. So for example, if I talk about JavaScript itself, अगर मैं let const and var let and const सिखा रहा हूँ, then I'm moving to the class, but you have some doubt in var let and const, you have to be proactive and ask in the chat at that time itself. Okay, don't wait, don't be shy. We are all students here, and we are here to learn, right? We are not here to prove that we are developers or something. Don't be shy. Any question, any kind of question, don't think it's stupid. Okay, you just ask it, and you will get an answer. Okay, and there is one tip which I have been reiterating from a long time now in this whole session, that complete the assignments of that day. Okay, before coming to the next class, please finish the assignment. That is my thing. Okay, that is one piece of advice. Two things which I really highly recommend you, which is coming to the live lecture on time and being focused in the live lecture. Okay, and solving the assignment before coming to the next class. Okay, and make a habit of reading the documentation and trying out things on your own. This is the only thing which will help you to be a developer. Okay, if I have to give you an example, as a student, I learned maybe React version 16, right? Or let us say 14, whatever it is, right? But right now the React version is 18, right? So a lot of new things came, so I had to go through the documentation to learn them. I can't get another course, right, which is teaching now React 18 version, right? So I have to try things on my own, right or wrong? So similarly, you will also have to do the same things. That is the only way you will become a developer, because that is the job of a developer. Okay, you have to understand these things. Okay, and don'ts are very simple. Attending live class while laying in the bed, you are just giving yourself that you are just cheating with yourself. That's all. You are not cheating with me, or with this organization, with your colleagues. No, if you are attending the live class still laying in the bed, you won't be focused, and which will result in not understanding most part of the lecture, right? So you are just cheating yourself, right? And attending the live class from mobile, again, it's again cheating yourself only, because if I'm writing the code, you won't be able to see it properly because of the screen size, right? And don't spam the chat box. Okay, with the same doubt and same statement, if I'm ignoring something in the chat box, you don't have to repeat it. There is some reason I'm ignoring it. Okay, the next point, which is like asking doubt on C when A or B is being discussed, है ना? क्या है ना कि अगर मैं A या B डिस्कस कर रहा हूँ, why to ask doubt about C, right? So similarly, if you're asking any doubt which I'm ignoring, that means we are going to cover it in the upcoming sessions. Okay, you have to be very curious, and it is intentional that I'm not answering them. So don't spam the chat. Okay, and always keep your mic muted, video off, and you should have a proper name. That is you have to take care of Zoom hygiene. Okay, and anytime the key is that you have to be proactive while answering the questions, anything, giving the feedback, taking part in the quiz, poll, wherever you are being present, you have to be very proactive. That's how you learn. Okay, so don't be someone who is not proactive. Okay, so topics which we are going to cover in this session, in this whole course. One thing is we are going to learn Node.js. Okay, what is Node.js and what does it do? We'll understand it in today's session, not an issue. After that, we'll move to the Express, building the APIs, middlewares, all those things, right? And we'll also see MongoDB for storing the data and retrieving the data, right? We will see MongoDB as a database, right? And we'll also, see Mongoose to connect our application with the database. Okay, these four things, if you are not able to understand what I said right now, not an issue. We are going to see all these things, very in detail over this course. Okay, that's not an issue. So first of all, introduction to the Node.js. Okay, so before coming to intro to Node.js, I wanted to discuss something. Okay, so this is where our class starts. So folks, please be a little proactive, and uh, try to be focused in the session. So can you just type one in the chat so that I know you are focused in the session? Okay. So first thing first, we are going to see what a client. Okay, just give me a moment. Voice is breaking. Is it breaking too much? Okay, I'll just stop my camera. Okay, is this fine now, folks? Is this working properly? Clear? Okay, we are good to go. Okay, so let me know in the chat if my voice is breaking or something is happening with my voice. Okay. So we are going to talk about client server model. Okay, so this is a very fundamental and important concept, okay, in the backend, which is client server model. If you understand this, you have understood the whole backend. Okay, so this is how this will answer you why do we need backend, and how will we create the backend. Okay, so first of all, I'll show you something. So okay, so let us say this is our front end. Okay, or we will not give it a name yet. I'll give you an example to make it understand. Okay, to make you understand this thing. So first thing is, let us say this is a restaurant. Okay, and you are entering it, and you are inside the restaurant, right? And you are sitting on a table. Forgive my drawing. Okay, my drawing is a little weak. And what happens after that? What do you do after going to the restaurant? You are sitting on a table. What will you do? Right, you will check the menu and order the food. Most of you are correct, right? So what you are going to do is, first step is, you are going to look at the menu, right or wrong? Look menu, right? And what is the second thing which you are going to do? You are going to order the food, right or wrong? Right, order the food. But who after looking the menu, right or wrong, waiter will come to you, right? A waiter will come to you. Let us say this is the waiter, right? He will take order from you, right? He'll take order from you and he will give it to the kitchen, right or wrong, folks? He will give the order to the kitchen, right? And in kitchen, what will happen? Can you tell me what will happen? The chef will read the order, right? That is what is going to happen. And after that, what will happen after that? What will happen after that, after reading the order? He will prepare the food, right? For preparation, prepare the food, right? So he might need some, maybe if you're making a pizza, he might need some cheese, right or wrong? Cheese or, mushrooms or whatever it is, right? Some raw material he needs, right? Let us call it raw material, right? Where will he go to get the raw material? He will go to the storeroom, right or wrong? The chef who is present here, right? He is the chef. He will, let us say his name is chef. Okay. He will go to the store, right or wrong? Storeroom and get all these things and prepare your food, right? Like this, right? And from here, he will give it to the waiter and waiter will give it to you, right or wrong? Prepared food, right? This is the complete flow. What happens in the restaurant, right or wrong? So you order the food, you look at the menu, you order the food, the waiter takes your order to the chef. The chef reads the order and accordingly prepares the food. He might need some raw material, so he goes to the storeroom, right, and gets those raw material and then prepare the food. Then the waiter comes to you and gives you the food, right? Right, folks? किस किस को समझ आया है? 1 or 0 in the chat. Okay. So अब यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा समझ लेते हैं टेक्निकली what is, how is it related to the client server model. ठीक है? ठीक है? Are you ready, folks? Are you ready? ठीक है. This, who is this? Where I pointed this direction, who is this? I told you are going to the right. This is who is called client. Okay. This is who is called client. And he is looking at the menu and ordering the food, right? He is looking at the menu and then giving the order to the waiter, right or wrong? 1 or 0 in the chat, right? So he is giving some input data, right? Can I call it input data? Right, folks? Right? Right? Can I call this table on which he is sitting? Can I call this browser? Can I call this browser? Right? Because on this browser only you will get the, you will have the menu and the ordered food will come to your table, right or wrong? And you will start eating it, right? So I'll call this table a browser, and the or after looking at the menu and ordering the food, that is going to be your input data, and this waiter will be your fetch or Axios. How many of you have used it? How many of you have used fetch or Axios, right? So this waiter goes to the chef, right? Kitchen. So this kitchen is your server, right? And who is this chef? This is your server side code, right? And what is the storeroom? This is your database. And when chef is going to the storeroom, who takes the chef to the storeroom? It's Mongoose. Okay, so technically, again, I'm going to write it, have a look at it, okay, for 2 minutes and try to think about it. Okay, the time is 8:35. I'm giving you 2 minutes. Okay, look at this data and try to process it. Quickly, folks, have you understood something? Oh, okay, again, okay. Now be a little focused here, okay? So let us say this is your front end, right? And let us say this is your back end. And let us say this is your database, right? So you as a client send a request to backend, right? Request to backend. What kind of data do I need? Right? And the backend accordingly goes to the database, gets the data, right? And sends it back to you as a response. right? So similar case how we handled in the restaurant, right? You go to the restaurant, you type in some input data, right? So for example, let us say in this case you are telling the waiter get me a pizza, right? So the waiter gets the request to the back kitchen, which is the back end, right? And the chef gets the all the ingredients from the database, right? And prepares the pizza for you here in the kitchen and send you back as response. This is also called request response cycle. That's it. How many of you have understood this part? What happens actually? So if I have to talk now, let me give you an example. So if I am typing Batman, right? This is the client side, right or wrong? This is the front end, right, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat quickly, right? So when I hit enter, what it does is, what it does, we are getting the image of the Batman, right? Right or wrong? And we're getting some text here, right, folks? So the front end did a request to the back end saying, I need data related to man, right? Right. And the backend went into the database, right, and searched for Batman data, right? Whether it will be some text, right, image, whatever it is, right, and fetched it from the database, right, and then gave you as a response. That's why you are able to see the Batman data on the front end. How many of you have understood very simple request response cycle? Type 1 or 0 in the chat. Right? So this is getting the data, right? Retrieving the data. So sometimes as a client, you fill a form like a login form. How many of you have filled a login form with email and password? Email and password, right? So from front end side, you send a request along with what? Along in this request, what is there? You send a request. This is a different kind of request. Store my data, store my username and password, right? And password. And it reaches the backend understands, okay, he needs to save the data in the DB. So it takes your data, right? So it takes your username, it takes your username, right? And password and stores it in the database, right? And gives you back the response that data is stored. Understood this response request response cycle, folks? Right? Yeah, it means Google page is the client side, right? You can't see the server side. Server side is hidden from you, right? So that is all about request response cycle. How many of you have understood it, folks? So I'll write down some pointers here, which I noticed, right? Observations, right? So first observation is client initiates the request, right? Always the client initiate the request, right, folks? Right? Like accessing a web page or making an API call or asking for data, right? So second is server processes request, right? What kind of request is it? Right? Is it just serving the data or saving the data, right? And performs necessary operations and interacts with the database, right? मतलब server जो है वो हमारी request देखता है. Is my voice lagging, folks? Is my voice lagging? Yes, a little bit. Give me 1 sec, okay? Give me 1 second. Okay, can you hear me now? Folks, can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you type 1 or 0 in the chat? Is it good now? Good to go? Yes, okay, cool. Thank you. So what I was saying is client initiates the request, right? What kind of data do we want or what do we want to store in the database? हमें कौन सा data चाहिए या किस तरीके का data हमें database में store करना है, right? Server processes the request, वो देखता है कि किस तरीके की request आई है, right? And performs necessary operations, right? And third है database, right? तो database का काम क्या है? it stores the data, right? That is the first thing. What is the second thing which it does? It also serves the data to the server, right? जो भी डेटा सर्वर को चाहिए होता है, राइट? सो इन दिस केस द डेटाबेस गेव द बैटमैन का डेटा, राइट? राइट folks, is my voice very lagging? No, right? So please then be a little proactive, because otherwise I can't say, right? So what I was saying is, in this case the server asked, we client asked for Batman, and the server got the retrieved the data related to the Batman from the database and gave it back to the client, right? This is what happened. So this is about request response cycle, right or wrong, folks? Understood? What is the role of backend server database, right? So we'll every day we'll talk about it, okay? Not an issue, but this is the overview of a request response cycle, okay? So the second pointer which I wanted to make is, what is a server? What do you think is a server? Quickly, what do you think is a server? Quickly, folks, we have to do a lot of things. What is a server? Okay, so I'll break down this word into two parts, okay? I'll say serve, right, and the remaining R, right? This is the combination, right or wrong, folks? Yahi hai na? Serve plus R, right? So can I just derive from this that it is serving something? Serving, right? Serve R, what is this R? Resources, right? So server means something. Server means which serves something, right? A server means which serves something, right? What is this something? These are resources, right? What can be these resources? The data, right? So it serves the data to us, the resources to us, right? So what does it actually serve? So whenever a client asks for a data, it serves the data, the resources, right? So Navdeep is correct, right? So similarly, servers are designed to handle request, right? Process information and deliver responses to fulfill the needs of the clients. Okay, we'll understand this part. You don't have to be like, what is the instructor saying here? You can just literally know that a server is a computer, right? It is just a computer, your computer, my computer, PC, laptop, whatever it is, right? A server is a computer which serves resources, right? That is what is called a server. Okay. So what is a server now? Server is a computer, right? Which serves resources. So again, coming back to my simple solution here. So this Batman, which I asked the server to serve, what did I ask him to serve? Which resources did I ask him to serve? Related to what? Can you tell me here? Batman related data, right? The server served me resources related to Batman, right or wrong? How many of you have understood this part? Folks, 1 or 0 in the chat. Try to grasp it, okay? No need to, push yourself really hard. See, I'll go a little slow here, right? So let me just say this is my front end, right? And this is my back end. Okay, I'm just not including the database right now. Okay, so this is my front end and this is my back end, right? The front end asked the data as a request, right? As a request, what data did he ask? The Batman, right? And backend, what is my backend? It's just a computer, right? It's a server, right? We call it server, right? It will serve me the resources. What are those resources? It is text or images related to Batman, right? To Batman, right? As a response. Understood this part, right? Obviously it has the capability of filtering the data, right? The backend has the capability of filtering the data, right or wrong? So in my database, I can have data related to Superman, right? At the same time, Spider-Man, at the same time, anything, right? But the server got the data from the database, only the Batman, right? This part. and served it back to me. Don't you think here the process of sending it back as a response means it is serving me with these resources related to Batman, right or wrong? That is what a server means. That's it. Understood, folks? ये बहुत ही lame terminology में I have said, but have you understood this? Yes? Okay. So I want to give you another example. Do you remember I told you that our backend is a kitchen, right? Our backend is a kitchen, right? How many of you know, sorry, how many of you remember I told you that our backend is a kitchen or server? Server is a kitchen, right? Server, right? So the chef inside it, what is the chef then? What is the chef then? What is the chef? If kitchen is the server, who is the chef? Who is in the kitchen? The chef is the code which you have written, right? It performs the actions. It is the code, right? Literally, it's the logic which you are writing, right? You are writing the code, right? Who is chef? Chef is, chopping the carrots or doing something. It's just the code, right? We are just giving him instructions what to do, right? So this code, which is the chef, it's a kind of script, right? It will be a file, right? Right? Are you able to understand what I'm saying? This chef, what it does cooking, right? So can we give the instructions in the form of code, how to cook? Yes or no? Can we give or not? 1 or 0 in the chat. Can we give a chef the instructions how to code in the form of coding, right? We can give. So this cooking is your file, right? Coding file in which all the instructions are there. That is who actually your chef is, right? Which is your code. But this code is called server side code, right? Because it's written inside a server, right? Kitchen, right or wrong? Right. So this server side code can be written through multiple languages. Can you tell me some of the language which you can use to write server side code? No, the programming language through which we can, write the server side code. Java is one of that, right? Python is there, right? What else? What else? PHP is there, correct? Right. Similarly, there is something called Node.js. Okay. All these languages who can write your server side code are called SSPL. Okay. What do I mean by SSPL? It's server side programming language. Understood, folks? What is a server side? So server side programming language is used to create scripts or files that run on the server, right? Rather than on your browser. Understood, folks? I'll give you also the implementation part of it, but is it clear theoretically? That's what I'm saying. We will implement all of this. Okay, not an issue, but have you understood it theoretically? If someone tells you what is a server side programming language, what will you tell? It's a programming language which is used to write the scripts in the server, right or wrong? Server side, right, folks? That's it. These languages are used to build the backend of web application, right? That is what server side programming languages are, right? Right. Okay. So that brings us what we are going to learn from these language, server side language. Can you tell me? Are we going to learn Java, Python, PHP, or Node.js? We are going to learn Node.js, right? Right, folks? So again, reiterating this part in our request response cycle, you might have created front end with the help of JavaScript or React, right? But we are going to create our backend with the help of Node.js. Okay. And as a DB, we are going to use MongoDB. Okay. And this front end, how does it communicate to the backend? How does it communicate to the backend? I told you the waiter wala example. Do you remember? APIs, right? So you use fetch or Axios, right? Fetch or Axios. You use fetch or Axios to communicate the front end with the back end, right? Using APIs. 1 or 0 in the chat, folks, if you have used fetch or API. But how will the back end connect with the DB? How will it communicate with the DB? I told you, mongoose, right? So here comes the mongoose. This is the overview, okay? You don't have to worry. We will see all these things in detail, but you have to understand why we are learning these things, right? So this backend to communicate with the database, it needs something called mongoose, okay, which is an ORM. What is an ORM? Anyone? What is an ORM? Does anyone know what is an ORM? Quickly, folks, what is an ORM? Nobody knows? Okay. Can you at least give me the full form of ORM? Can you do a quick search and tell me what is the full form of ORM? Okay. Object relational mapping. Okay. Keep this word in, okay, think about it. Okay. Keep this full form in your mind. Okay. We are going to see in the upcoming sessions what mongoose is and what is an ORM. But keep this thing in your mind. Okay. Object relational mapping. 1 or 0 in the chat. Can you do that till the upcoming sessions? Okay, think about it. Okay, so it comes to the now we are going to focus on the backend. So backend is built with the help of server side programming language, right? The programming language which help us to write the scripts of the backend. And there are a couple of language which are used to create the backend, but we are going to learn Node.js. Okay, that is the thing. Okay, now coming back to the slides, this is the introduction to Node.js now. Okay, so can you tell me, like, JavaScript, where does it run actually? Where does JavaScript run? When you write JavaScript in the Visual Studio Code, does it run on your computer or in the browser? In the browser, right? Right? Let me give you an example. So if you go to any of the browser here, right, just a sec. And if you do FNF12, right, it will open the inspect. And if you check the console wala part, you can directly run the JavaScript here, right? So I can say let name equivalent to, let me just say my name, Mohsen, right? And I can say console.log name, right? And if I hit enter, it prints Mohsen. So where is it working, folks? Is it working on your computer or a browser? Browser, right? So can I call JavaScript SSPL, server side programming language, JavaScript? Can I call this? So some of you are saying one, but how can I call JavaScript server side? Because it runs in the browser. I told you server is a computer, right? Which serves the resources. So from this statement, you should know that the programming language should work on my computer rather than on this browser, right or wrong? So JavaScript is not a SSPL, right? Right, folks? 1 or 0? Where does it run? It runs in the browser, right? So what helps JavaScript to run in the browser? Does anyone know what helps JavaScript to run in the browser? JS engine, JavaScript engines, right? So we have JavaScript engines. Well done, Harshit. Very good. Navdeep also very good. Okay. So in Chrome browsers, Chromium browsers, for example, your Brave, your Chrome browser, all uses V8 engine, right? It uses V8 engine. Your Mozilla Firefox uses SpiderMonkey, right? This picture which you are seeing here, this is a JavaScript engine which helps browsers to run JavaScript, right? So this is SpiderMonkey. Similarly, Microsoft Edge uses, I don't remember the name. Let us search. Uh, Microsoft, right? So it's called Chakra. Okay. So three browsers engine, sorry, which you have, which helps JavaScript to run. Chromium browsers use V8 engine, Mozilla Firefox use SpiderMonkey, okay, and Microsoft Edge uses Chakra. These are the engines which help JavaScript to run in the browser. Is this understood, folks? Quickly, 1 or 0 in the chat. You should know this already, right? Okay, cool. So how, if it's working in the browser only, how will I make JS JavaScript to work on my local machine, on your computer only, not in the browser? How can I do that? You will answer that question. It's very simple, okay? Don't think it's complicated answer. It's very simple, okay? No, someone is saying node, node, node. We won't go into the node. See, we saw that. Okay, focus here. What I'm saying, we saw that V8 engine helps JavaScript engine helps JavaScript to run in the browser, right? Now, how can I run JavaScript on my local machine? Anyone? See, the simple answer was to install that engine on my local PC, right? So I can install, if they are in the browser, I can install them in my PC also and start running them, right or wrong? Don't you think this is the easiest way? Right, folks? Think with your mind, okay? Focus. Think here logically what I'm saying. अगर ये इंजन V8 स्पाइडर मंकी या जो भी है, ये हेल्प करता है जावास्क्रिप्ट को रन करने में इन द ब्राउजर, तो अगर मैं इसको इंस्टॉल करूं अपने लैपटॉप में, तो मेरे लैपटॉप में भी जावास्क्रिप्ट चलेगी, राइट और रॉन्ग folks? Yes, 1 or 0 in the chat. If you have understood this, you have understood Node.js. Okay, so now we know that here comes the Node.js. Okay, so Node.js was developed by Ryan Dial in 2008. Okay, so I'll give you an overview what I'm talking about here. Okay, to make you better understand. So we saw that. Please be a little proactive here. Okay, how does JavaScript run on the browser with the help of what? Quickly, be a little quick here. Engines, right? Engines, right? In the browser, I will call it B. Okay, engines. What are those engines? V8, Spider Monkey, right? Chakra, right? So if I want to use this JavaScript on my PC, right? What will I do? I'll install any of these engines, right? Any of the engine, right or wrong, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat quickly, right? So that is what installing any of these engines, we have something called Node.js. Okay, what is this Node.js now? Okay, let me give you an example here. So if you want to go swimming, right, where will you go for swimming? Ignore my spellings and handwriting. Okay, this is a little bit hard to write on this slate. So where will you go for the swimming? Pool, right? So okay, tell me, if swimming pool is closed, where will you go? What is the second option as a boy? Okay, not as a girl, but as a boy we have a different options, right? So where can I go? कहाँ जा सकता हूँ मैं? पॉन्ड में जा सकता हूँ, राइट? राइट, रिवर में जा सकता हूँ, करेक्ट है ना? बहुत सारे ऑप्शंस है हमारे पास, राइट और रॉन्ग? जब कुछ भी नहीं मिलेगा, वो विल जस्ट सिंपली बाथ, राइट, इन द वॉशरूम, है ना? जब कुछ भी नहीं मिलेगा, ठीक है? सो सिमिलरली, नोड जेएस इज अ रन टाइम एनवायरमेंट, राइट? सो व्हाट डू आई मीन बाय रन टाइम एनवायरमेंट? ओके, दिस इज अ वेरी क्रिटिकल थिंग हियर. ओके, प्लीज बी अ लिटिल फोकस्ड हियर. So you know this V8 Spider Monkey and Chakra is an environment, right? Where engine or provides an environment to the JavaScript to run in the browser, right? So similarly, Node.js is a runtime environment. It provides environment for the JavaScript to run in the local PC. Okay, मान के चलो, if this is the pool, right? This is the river, right? दोनों जगह पे हम, we can swim, right, in the pool, in the river, but both are different environments. Okay, so in browser, these engines provide a different environment, right? Node.js provides a different environment. It helps JavaScript to run on the local PC. Have you understood what Node.js is, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat. Okay, so now you tell me, what is this Node.js made up of? If you have understood till now, what do you think is this Node.js made up of? Navdeep is correct. Made of. Ritesh, this is the answer which I needed. Okay. You gave, I don't think you searched. That is very good. So I told you this Node.js is an environment, right? Runtime environment for the JavaScript to run in the local PC. So what is this Node.js made up of? Harshit is very correct, but he has searched it on the Google. That's, I can tell you. Don't you think we should make this Node.js of these engines, right? Engines, which I told you, right? यही तो मैंने बोला कि if I want to run this JavaScript in my PC, I'll install V8, SpiderMonkey और Chakra something, right? तो ताकि JavaScript मेरे local PC में भी चलने लगे, right? So this Node.js is made up of V8 engine. Why did they choose the V8 engine? I don't know, but it's made up of V8 engine plus some extra features. Okay. Okay, folks, what are these extra features? What do you think? We'll talk about them. Okay. After, 9:30, someone remind me about what are those extra features? Who will take this responsibility of reminding me at 9:30 by asking me a question? What are those extra features? Okay. So what is this Node.js made up of? And what is this Node.js? So Node.js is nothing. It's a runtime environment, right? It provides an environment for the JavaScript to run on the server, local PC, right? And it's made up of V8 engines plus some extra features, which we will talk about. Okay. Cool, folks. ये समझ में आया? समझ में आया? किस किस को समझ में आया? Okay, so if I told you that, right? अगर हम swimming करने जाएंगे, we'll have pool, right? We'll have river, we'll have pond, right? We'll have lake. बहुत सारे environment है ना, right? 1 or 0 in the chat, right? So similarly, one of the environment is browser engine, right? Browser environment. So similarly, Node.js is another environment for JavaScript, right? So similarly, there is something called Bun. Okay, there is something called Dino. These three also provide server side. Okay, not this one. This is the browser side. This we will exclude. All these three provides runtime environment for JavaScript to run in the local PC. Okay, understood. So if I show you Dino, you will just see it's a runtime for JavaScript. Okay, it's based on V8 JavaScript engine, right? And it helps JavaScript to run on the Node.js side. Sorry, server side. Okay. Similarly, Bun is there, right? Bun is a JavaScript runtime, right? Okay, it was designed by some blah 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 blah, right? And it also uses V8. Understood, folks? What is a runtime environment? And we have different types of environment. 1 or 0 in the chat quickly. Right? Okay. So these were the alternatives of Node.js. Okay. Bun, Dino, etc. Okay. So one more thing which I was going to tell you in today's session is REPL. Okay. Something called REPL. REPL. Okay. Have you seen this ever in your journey? Yes. So tell me, what do you mean by R? What is R? R is read. Okay. What is E? Harshit is correct. It's evaluate. Okay. What is P? It's print. You are correct. What is L? L is loop. Okay. So I'll give you again an example of this REPL. Okay. How it works. So what is the first one? Let me say I have said let name equal into Mohsen. Right. What is this? It will read it. Right. If I hit enter, it will read it. Right. Then if I say, okay, let me just give you another example. Let me just say 2 plus 2. Right. It read it right? It is giving the 4. It evaluated what I have to do. And if I hit enter, it will print 4. And again loop. I can do 2 plus 2, 4, 2 plus 3, right? It reads it, evaluates the expression, prints the answer, and again loop, does the same thing. This is what is called a REPL. Understood, folks? What is a REPL? It's not a major thing, but I needed to discuss it. Is it understood? So I'll show you. Let me just say 7 plus 15. It read it, evaluated the expression, right? Hit enter, print the answer, and then again loop, right? Just like working in a constant loop, right or wrong, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat. Have you understood this? What is a REPL? Quickly, we have to discuss a lot of things, right? Okay. Let me go back to the slides and let me give you, Node.js was developed by Ryan Dial in 2008. The biggest advantage of Node.js is that it's common, right? It's common sense that you don't need any other coding language for the backend. You can just do it by the knowledge of JavaScript only, right? So you don't have to be confused again. Node.js is a runtime environment. It's not a programming language. Okay. Understood, folks? What is the difference between a runtime environment and programming language? Folks, are you able to understand it? 1 or 0 in the chat. Node just provides the environment to run the JavaScript, right? Questions you will answer after that. Okay. It's not a programming language that is used to code backend. Okay. It's just a programming language. Okay, so some of the examples which I already gave you of the swimming pool here also, like if you want to want a gaming environment, right? This PS5 will provide you the gaming environment, right or wrong? For the gaming, right? अगर आपको game खेलनी है, PS5 with a monitor will provide you that environment, right? For the gaming, right environment, right or wrong, folks? 1 or 0. So similarly, if you have to cook a roti in the tandoor, am I audible, folks? Yes. Okay, so for example, if you have to cook a roti in the tandoor, right? The tandoor provides the environment, right? The right environment to cook the roti. Similarly, Node.js is a runtime environment which provides JavaScript, the environment to be executed in the local system, right? Okay. So Node.js, as I told you, is a V8 engine plus some extra features. Okay, what are these extra? We already discussed the REPL. Okay, so what are those extra features? I'll talk about them also. Okay, before coming to that part, we have some ways to interact with the computer, right? So what are the two ways to interact with the computer? Can you tell me? What are the two ways to interact with the computer? One is called GUI and another one is called CLI. Okay, so I'll give you an example of both. Just give me a sec. Okay, let me come here. Okay, see, someone is asking a very good question, that I told you that Node.js, right, is a programming language. But what I'm saying here is Node. Node is a runtime environment. Okay. JS is JavaScript, Node ka JavaScript. That is a programming language. Okay. This is just to differentiate between the normal. See, if I tell you JavaScript is a client side and server side language also, you will get confused, right? So JavaScript is used in the client side and Node.js, we call it, this is just JavaScript, right? Which is used in the backend, right? But what is Node? Node is a runtime environment. Okay, don't get confused. Understood, Navdeep? 1 or 0 in the chat? Okay, cool. Okay. So what I was talking about here is one thing is which is called GUI, right? What is the full form of GUI? And there is something called CLI, which is graphical user interface. Right now, I am writing this thing. How am I writing this thing? Am I directly, first of all, what do you mean the graphical user interface? what is a graphical user interface? So see, can you see your display? Can you see your display of the computer? Can you type 1 or 0 in the chat? Is it showing you different things, right? So this is all graphical, right? This you can see interface, right? Through which we can communicate through graphics. Graphics means simply you can remember this, that graphical user interface is something which we can communicate through touching or clicking or through graphics, right? But CLI is something which is called command line, where we give commands by writing, not by clicking, moving here and there, or by seeing something. Okay, let's just say you see things in this case. Visualize. Okay, visualize will be a more better word. Either you can say, one sec, either you can say you do things by looking at them, or visualization. This is called command line interface. In this case, you cannot visualize anything. You are just writing or giving the commands itself. Okay, no visualization. Okay, let me give you an example. So if I have to create a folder here, what will I do? I'll click on right click on the screen, right? Create a folder. Okay, and then give it a name. Right or wrong, folks? Right? Have you done this? Okay, let me just say node. Right? Have you ever done this? Folks, 1 or 0 in the chat. Have you done this? Created a folder? Right? Infinite times, right? Or if I want to go inside this folder, what will I do? I'll just click on it and create a new folder like this, right? I'll say node 2, right? Right. So how am I communicating with the server? With the help of graphics, right? With the help of visualization, with the help of screen, right or wrong, folks? Right? Okay. There is same thing which I can do with the help of terminal, right? So if I go to my terminal, right? Would you like an update? No, not right now. Okay. So if I just see ls, what is inside, right? I will go to desktop. Okay. So I'll say cd to go inside a directory. ls means listing all the directories, listing all the folders, right? And then cd means going inside a directory, right? So I'll say I want to go inside desktop, right? And I'll clear my screen. Is this terminal visible to you, everyone, folks? ये दिख रहा है? Is this terminal visible? Yeah, okay. So if I want to go inside desktop, I'm already in the desktop, right? So can you see this node folder which I created right now? If I do ls, I can see node, right, folks? Can you see it? Right. So if I want to go inside the node now, right, I'm going inside the node, and this is the another folder which I created. But here I am not communicating with the help of graphics. I am doing it with the help of command. So if I want to create another folder, I'll say mkdir. MK stands for make, dir stands for directory, right? I'll say node 3, right? If I hit enter, if I go back, you will see node 3 is created, right? Right, folks? Is there a big difference between, clicking, right clicking and creating a new folder, right? And just saying mkdir and the folder name? 1 or 0 in the chat quickly, folks, if you have understood this, the graphical user interface and the command line interface. Okay, so and one more important point I want to reiterate, when you click on the new folder, it also executes the same command, which is mkdir. Okay, it executes in the back end the same command. Okay, this is just for the user side to make it simple and easy to use. If I told you from tomorrow onwards you will have to use only command line, you won't be able to do it, right? So that's why they introduced graphical user interface. Okay, okay, 1 or 0 in the chat quickly, folks. We will have to move on, we need to see more things. Okay, so I'll give you a 4-minute break here. I'll see you again at 9:20. Okay, cool. Take 4-minute break and try to grasp all these things. I'll see you back at 9:14. Okay, 9:20. Sorry. Cool. Are we back, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat? Quickly. Yes. So I'll provide you a list of these commands, okay, in the doc notes itself. So go through these notes, okay. So this will be very good for you and practice. So we have time constraint. That's why I cannot explore those, but those are very simple, okay. Like ls shows you all the documents, cd and mkdir, you know, if I want to remove a directory or delete a directory, I can say rm dir, which means remove the directory, and I will give the directory name, right? And if I check, it's deleted. And if I go here also, and if you check in the node folder, the node 2 is gone, right? And it's permanently gone. It will not be in your recycle bin or something, right? It's very powerful. The rm command is very powerful. Rm means remove. It removes directly from your PC. Okay, so use it very carefully whenever you are using the rm command. Okay, so do you remember I told you that Mongoose is an ORM, right? 1 or 0 in the chat. I told you Mongoose is an ORM here. I told you, right? 1 or 0. So there are actually two types. Okay, one is called ORM, another one is ODM. Okay, so actually Mongoose is ODM, not ORM. Sorry for that. Okay, it's not object relational mapping. It's object document modeling. Okay, we will explore all these things, what object document modeling and what ORM is, in the upcoming sessions. Okay, you don't have to worry about it, but please keep it in mind. It's not ORM, it's ODM. Okay, object document modeling. Okay, okay, folks. Is this understood? 1 or 0 in the chat. We'll explore this, not an issue, but to keep in mind, it's just ODM, not ORM. Okay. So we have seen what is a graphical user interface and what is a command line interface, right? So some of the major use cases of command line is that whenever you are setting up the server, you need command line. Okay, you cannot use graphical user interface. I'll show you what I mean by that. And you need command line skills for the cloud. So whenever you make a backend or front end, you deploy it, right or wrong? Right, folks? Have you ever deployed your front end app? 1 or 0 in the chat? Yes. So you will need command line skills to deploy your backend to the cloud. Okay, we will also see that. And it's very less resource intensive. Can you see here? It's fast, right? Which one was fast? You can't see it because of the processors nowadays, but what do you think? Command line is better, less resource intensive or more resource intensive? If you think it's less, type 1 in the chat. It's literally common sense, right? I don't need to, talk more about it, because, why is it less resource intensive? We can debate on this, because it uses less graphics, right? It directly communicates with the hardware, right or wrong? On top of this, the graphical users also, whenever you click on create a new folder, right? Whenever you create a new folder, behind the scenes it's saying mkdir, right? So it's more resource intensive. You have to click, right? And then it will execute this command. Here you remove this layer and directly execute the command. That's what command line interface is. Okay, so now coming to the another concept, which is CJS versus ESM. Okay, so how many of you have used in your React apps or wherever import export? How many of you have used it? Can you type 1 or 0 in the chat? Right. So how do you write it down? You say, for example, import any function name, right? Or function or whatever it is, dash from, and you give a path here, right? Right or wrong, folks? And how do you export? How do you export? You will say export default, right? And you will give the name, whatever you want to export, right? 1 or 0 in the chat. Quickly, folks. 1 or 0. This is called ESM. Okay. What does ESM stand for? Can you tell me? What does ESM stands for? It stands for ECMA script modules. Okay. I'll write it down a little neater. Okay. It's called ECMA script modules. Okay, so it was introduced in 2015, this way of import exporting. Okay, it's called ESM. But way before that, in 2009, right? I hope so I'm correct with the dates. right? 2015, I am very sure, but 2009, I'll have to check whether it is 2008 or 2009, but it doesn't matter much. Okay. Is my voice breaking again, folks? No, right? Abhijit, please check your internet connection once. So in 2008 or 9, they introduced something called EJS, sorry, which stands for Common. What do you think JS stands for? JavaScript, right? Common JS. Okay. Common JS. So the same way of import and writing this thing, we say const, whatever we want to import, its name equivalent to, then we give the keyword require, and inside it we will give the path. Right? It's the literally the same way, but the syntax is different. How do we export? We say module dot exports and whatever we want to export. Understood, folks? What is the difference between ESM and EJS? We'll implement it, but it's literally doing the same thing, but it's the syntax is different. Why I'm saying this CJS? Because it comes directly with the Node.js. Okay, you will use CJS a lot. Okay, the new features in ECMAScript is one is new syntactical change. Okay, there are much more change, but for now, what you can remember is it's a new syntax, okay, of import exporting. But why will we use CommonJS? Anyone? Why will we use CommonJS? Why will we use CommonJS? Can you tell me? Quickly, folks, we have to go through a lot of things to understand basics. See, in 2009 or 8, when it was launched, I think it is 2008 or 9. Okay, I'm not very sure, but you can, Google around it. Many companies already worked on CommonJS, right? So it's highly likely they won't change their code base, right? Because of new syntax. इसके लिए तो वो अपना code base change नहीं करेंगे ना, right, folks? 1 और 0 खाली syntax के लिए अपना code base change तो नहीं करेंगे. They are still using CommonJS. And when you become a developer, there is a high chance that you will work with CommonJS only. Okay, that's why we will be using CommonJS. Okay. Okay, folks, we have not implemented it. We will implement it. No worries. But have you understood what is the difference between ESM and CJS? Right. So literally, you can see in the slide, there is no big difference. How do you import React from React? Here you say const React equivalent to React. Okay. Okay, that's it. Okay, so let us go to the terminal and start doing things. Okay, with the help of CommonJS and this thing. Okay. So I also wanted to show you, first of all, where you can go and install. So I told you this Node.js, we have to install it, right, in our local PC to make the JavaScript run in our local PC, right? So you will search here, you will go here and you will search simply Node.js, right? Just Node.js, that's it. Okay, you will say Node.js. Okay, hit enter. You will come to this page which is nodejs.org, right? And here you can download the Node.js and install it. Understood, folks? You will click on download and install it. That's it. How you simply install it, right? So you will start using the Node.js afterwards. Okay, that's it. So if I have to come here and if I just open this in the VS Code itself, okay, is my VS Code visible, folks? Can you see my VS Code? 1 or 0 in the chat? Okay, so let me just do something. Let me just work with the, this thing. What is it called? Command line itself. So if you want to go back one directory, you will have to say cd dot dot. It will go move back one directory. Okay, so I'll go to node, right? And I'll remove this directory, which is called node 3. Right, so it is a directory, so I'll have to say rmdir, that is removed directory, right? And I'll clean the terminal and I'll say touch index dot 1 sec. No such file ls. Okay, there is nothing of this sort, so I'll say code dot hyphen r, right? Okay, so we are in the node and we'll say if you say touch, it will or make something, right? Make or touch. So what it will do is it will create a file for you. I'll say index.js. So it created a file for me. Can you see? So afterwards, you can start using it. So if I say const sum equal into 8 plus 9, right? So if I want to console it, where will I console it, folks? It works in the browser only, right? It won't work in the terminal, right or wrong? Write 1 or 0 in the chat quickly, folks. It won't work, right? You cannot run it in the VS Code till now, but now you will be able to do it, right? So if you just say node, right? And with node, you have to give the file name. What is the file name here? Can you type quickly, folks? Can you type quickly? Index.js, right? If I say index.js, is it able to say, give the correct answer, which is 17, right or wrong? So is the JavaScript running on my local PC? Right or wrong? 1 or 0 in the chat. So this is because of Node. It's providing the runtime environment so that JavaScript can run in my local PC. And this has become a server now, my local system. Okay. We can literally make servers on our PC. Understood, folks? अभी तक सब समझ में आया? Can we move ahead? Yes. Okay. So let me just say there is a sum, right? So if I want to export it, what will I do? What will I do if I want to export it? What will I do? So in EJS, you would have done something like export, right? Export default, right? And sum, right or wrong? And then if you come here and say touch index, let us say client.js. Okay, this is just, I'm giving some name. Okay. So if I in the client.js, if I say import sum from not client.js dot index, right, .js, and can I do here console.log sum like this, and run this file, and it will be I'm good to go, right or wrong, folks? This is how you are doing. From the index, you are just exporting the sum and using the same in the client.js, right or wrong, folks? Right? 1 or 0 in the chat. Have you done this ever? Right. So it won't work here. So if I say node client.js, it will throw an error that imports something blah blah blah. You cannot use import statement outside a module, right? Because the Node.js directly doesn't support the ESM. We'll see that how to work with that. But for now, we are going to use CJS. Okay. So to export the same thing, I'll say module dot exports, right, and sum. And instead of importing like this, okay, see, it's just a syntactical change. I'll say const sum equal into require from the path, right, which is index.js. Now if I run the file node client.js, is it working, folks? Is it literally doing the same thing? Have you understood the implementation? It's not hard, right? Can you type 1 or 0 in the chat? Okay, so I'm going to make here a lecture.txt file. Okay, so what I said, we saw the ESM and the this thing CJS, right? Are you now okay? I'll repeat. Okay, once again. So till now, if I have a variable sum, right, I'll do export like this, export default sum, right? But in CJS, you say something module dot exports, which is a part of syntax, and give the name whatever you want to export, right? It's okay. So if I have multiple variables, so for example, const subtract equal into 8 minus 9, right? And what I can do is I can give them in an object and say sum, comma, subtract, right? So this is how I can export multiple variables, right? And in index, we have used till now import sum from the path, right? But here we say const sum, which is declaring a variable and telling it where is it coming from, right? So here I can literally just destructure it like this. I can say sum and sub, right? And I can console.log sum and sub, right? And if I just do this, you will see, right? Is this working, folks? Require is also a part of syntax. Okay. Require is also a part of syntax. Okay. That's it. Okay. So now coming to our main topic, which is what is a module in Node, right? This is the question. So to make anything, first of all, anything in JS is a module. Okay. but it has a requirement. So this client.js or this index.js is also a module. Okay. Everything in JavaScript is a module. This file index.js is a module, but the condition is it should export something. Understood, folks? What is a module? Very simple. Any file which is exporting something is called a module, whether it's a variable, a function, right? So if I have something called function sum, right, and a plus b return a minus b, I can just comment it out, right? And I can use this sum sub like this, right? And I can use this sum right now in here. I can say console.log sum 8 comma plus 9, right? And if I execute it, right, it's saying not a number. Why is it saying not a number? Can you tell me? Why is it saying it's not a number? Comma, yes. Okay, so if I go back, is it working? So this function, this file itself became a module, right? I can, if I remove this subtract and remove this sub from here, I can call it sum module, right? Because what it does, can you tell me what it does, folks? This sum module takes two integers and returns the sum of them, right? And I am using it in client, right? So this sum became a module, right or wrong, folks? Understood what is a module? Anything, any file which exports something is called a module, okay? But it's not the only criteria. It should not mess with other modules. Okay, what do I mean by this? It should not mess with other modules. Okay, so one sec. I'll just. So if I am saying here sum module and I'm creating another sum module, right, with the same name, but has a little bit different functionality, it takes 3 instead of 2, right? And I'm calling it a sum module. It will mess up with this sum module, right? It won't know which is the sum module exactly. So it should not mess with your other modules, right? And it should have something which it exports. Okay, these are the main two requirements to call some file, something in JavaScript, a module. Understood, folks, what is a module? It's very basic, right? Any file which exports something is a module. 1 or 0 in the chat quickly if you have understood what's a module. Okay, so you remember I told you that what is Node.js? What is Node.js made of? One is V8 engine, right? What is the other thing which I told you? Plus some other features, right? Right? You remember extra features. What are these extra features, right? So extra features equivalent to, these are called node modules. Okay. So what are these node modules now? You must be saying, right? So what is a module? I told you the module is something which exports something, right? And it should not mess with the other modules, right, folks? So what are these node modules? I'll show you. Okay. So when you install Node.js, some of the modules, right? Some of the modules get installed. Of the modules get installed. It's okay if you're not able to understand it, not an issue. Okay, when we implement this, you will be able to understand. So keep this in mind. Okay, some of the modules get installed. I'll show you what these modules are. Okay, so if I go to browser, if I go to documentation, can you see this, folks? Cluster, core pack, everything. Can you see this? 1 or 0 quickly? Can you see this? Just see it, right? So these are all modules which get installed in your local PC when you install Node.js. Okay. These will be installed with the Node.js. Okay. Understood? All these modules. Okay. I'll show you one by one what I mean by installed. But have you understood what are these node modules? These are the node modules. Okay. This buffer is a module. This global is a module. This HTTP is a module. Understood, folks? This part, the theoretical part, will implement it, but the theoretical part is clear. Okay. So now let us see some of the modules. Okay. So for example, if I come here, so if you go to the documentation anywhere, if you have to, go through anything, just type the name of it. So for example, if I say fs file system dot read file. Okay. So first of all, I'll go to file system, right? Now I have searched it. I don't need to go through all of these things, right? I can just literally go into the file system, right? Then here, I want to use something called fs.read file, right? So read file sync, right? Like this. Okay, so I am now inside this. So what is it saying? First of all, it's saying you have to import read file sync from the node fs, right? So if I go back here, if I go back to my VS Code, right? So inside this client.js file, I'll remove all of this. I'll say const fs equivalent to require fs. Did I install it, folks? Did I install this fs? 1 or 0 in the chat. Right now, did I install it? No, it comes with the node when you install Node.js. Okay, it comes with that. It gets automatically installed in your file system. Okay, so if I have a file here, lecture.txt, right? So what I can do here is I can say fs.read file sync. Read file sync. First of all, give the path of the file. So path is lecture.txt, right? And the second one is encoding wala part. Okay, you can either use it or not use it. That's not an issue. Okay, so if I go back to the documentation, it's saying that if you want to use read file sync, right, you have to give the directory name. That's a directory path. Okay, so I have given here the directory path, right? I'll save it in a variable. I'll say let text equivalent to fs.read file sync, and I'll console this console.log text. Okay, this is text, not test. Okay, so if I come here and if I execute this, this is coming in a buffer. Right or wrong? Can you see this 7768? Can you understand this buffer? Can you understand this? No, right? So because this is in the form of binary, right or wrong? Somehow it's in the form of some system machine code, right? This is buffer, right? You can't understand it. To encrypt it or to understand it, we give an option called UTF-8, which will convert this into the text. Okay. So this is the homework for you. Okay. So some of the homework is explore UTF-8. Okay. What is this UTF-8? This is your job. This is not tough. Okay. You will understand it if you go through it. So can you see now? Is it able to read my file, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat? 1 or 0, folks? Did I install anything? I just used fs like that only, right? Right. So is this a asynchronous operation or synchronous operation, folks? Can you tell me? Is this an async operation or synchronous operation? This is an synchronous operation, right? So similarly, if you want to use async version of it, I can say read file. Okay, and in this case, I don't need this variable because this is asynchronous. And here I'll get a callback function, which is error, comma, data. And I can literally say console.log data, right? And if I hit enter, this will be asynchronous. Whenever it reads the data, it will console it, right? So if I hit enter, okay, it's not logs, it's log. So I'll clear the terminal. I'll say, is it able to read it? But this is way more. So if I just do something like this, okay, I'll just do this is an activity console.log hi. What will print first, data or hi? What will print first, data or hi? Okay, so if I just run this, you will see that it's printing the high first, right or wrong, folks? Right, because this is an asynchronous operation, right? It will go into the event loop, right? So if I'm not using this, if I'm using not like this, if I'm using something like let text equivalent to fs.read file sync console.log text, what will print first, text or high? Text, right? So this is an so there is something wrong. The CB argument. Okay. Where is the argument? Oh, read file sync, right? See, this is what attention to detail is. Okay, very nice. So if I again do, it's able to read it, right? So similarly, we have something called OS module. Okay, so I can go back here and I can search for OS module, right? This is the OS module. So see how powerful it is. Okay, that's what I want to show you. So if you go to this os.c CPUs, right? os.cpus, if you run this function, so we'll check how to run this function. Okay, so this will have returns null. Okay, what else is there? Model property, speed, time. Okay, so now if I come here, I'll say OS require from OS, and if I just remove this part, and if I just say console.log os dot CPUs and execute this function, right? And I'll say clear my terminal, right? Can you see it's telling me that you have these many cores? Model is M1 Pro, speed is this. Model is M1 Pro, these many cores I have. Can you see this, folks? It can directly communicate with my hardware now, your Node.js, right, folks? Right or wrong? Don't you think it's interesting? Now you know how many cores are there in your PC using Node.js, right? Right, 1 or 0 in the chat quickly, folks. Have you understood this? Okay. So similarly, if I take another example of CPUs, let me just say return the amount of free memory in bytes as an integer. Okay. So if I console this also, if I go back here, right, and if I just remove this, and if I choose free memory, not men, and if I just see, it's telling these many bytes I have, available in my PC. So it's able to communicate with my local system now, Node.js, right? Have you understood now what is Node.js, folks, completely? 1 or 0 in the chat. Quickly, please. Yes. Have you understood now completely? That's what my question is to you. Okay. Okay. So similarly, we have something called, you know, uh, apart from this OS, we have, let us use FS for some time. FS equivalent to require FS. Okay. So if I want to, I read the lecture.txt, right? Is this done? Have we read the lecture.txt file 1 or 0? Folks, quickly. हमने अभी रीड किया ना टर्मिनल में, राइट? सो द नाउ द नेक्स्ट टास्क इज हाउ कैन आई राइट द lecture.txt? How can I write lecture.txt? Is there any way? So there is another two ways, which is one is synchronous and asynchronous. We will see them both. Okay, fs dot write file, okay, sync. Okay, first give the path. Okay, I'm creating a new, we'll say dummy.txt, right? And I'll come to here client.js. I'll give the path. The path is dummy.txt, and whatever you want to write there. I want to write hello world, right? And if I just run this file now, if I come to dummy, is it written, folks? Is it able to write 1 or 0 in the chat quickly? Okay, so if I want to do this thing in a synchronous way, I can do fs dot read file, right? And then I can give dummy.txt, right? And I can just say here, sorry, this got written because of this thing. So second parameter is the text. I want to say hello bye world. Okay, bye world, right? And I'll get a callback function error, right? In case of error, I will say if there is any error. If not, I'll say if there is error, right? I'll say console.log not able to write in the file, right? Else data has been written, right? So if I run this file, what will be in the client.js? Can you tell me? If I run this file, will there be hello world or bye world or both? You can say type H for this, B for bye, or you can type both. Okay, let us see, let us see. Okay, so if I run this file, it's giving error. Why is it giving error? Why is it giving error? Read file. Okay, nice. Write file. Okay, so if I just clear this, if I hit it enter, so what will be in the dummy.txt? Let us check. Okay, it's bye world. Why isn't where is hi world? Hello world. Where is that? It took some time, right? It blocked the code because it's asynchronous, right? It wrote the hello world in the file. Okay. Then after that, it wrote bye world. It was overwritten, right? Overwritten, right or wrong? It was overwritten, right, folks? But what if I want to save, let me just use now here only synchronous version. Okay, so if I run this file, in the file there will be now hello world, right? But if I come here and if I do now bye world, right, it's not adding to the hello world, it's overwriting it, right? It got replaced, right or wrong, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat quickly, right? So you need to figure out, it's your homework. Okay, homework is you need to figure out a way not to replace it, just add the data. For that you have to explore append file. Okay, one is append file, another one is for synchronous, another one is called append file sync. Okay, will you explore these two things? Will you explore these, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat quickly. This will show me the how many of you have intent of learning things, right? It will not be tough. It's very easy. Trust me. Okay. Once you do it, it's very easy. Okay. So there is something also called, which is crypto module. Okay. Please explore that as well. Okay. For the homework. So the last thing which I wanted to talk about is, do you remember I told you these extra features are node modules? So now have you understood what are these node modules? This FS, comma, crypto, OS, everything is a node module. Understood, folks? 1 or 0 in the chat. What are these extra features? Yes. I'm getting only 3 responses. What about others, folks? बाकी कहाँ पे है? Okay. So these node modules, okay, this is the last thing which I'm going to touch today, have 3 types. One is, you will give me the answer. Okay. One is inbuilt. So which is inbuilt? What have you seen inbuilt till now? What have you seen? FS. Okay. What else? OS. Right. These are inbuilt. Then there is something called custom. What is custom? Did we create any custom module? Ritesh is correct. We created some module, right? This is our custom module, right or wrong? Because it's exporting something and it's not messing with the other modules, right? Because we are exporting it, right? So this is our custom. Then there is something called external module, which we will see in the next session. Have you ever done npm I something? npm install something? These are external modules or packages. Okay. Okay, folks, we'll see that in the next session. Understood? इतना जितना अभी तक मैंने पढ़ा है, have you understood this part? 1 or 0 in the chat quickly. Okay. 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 So what I'll suggest to each and every one of you, let me stop the screen share here and maybe my video will work now. Okay. So So someone is saying, is React an external module? Figure out the answer for this. Okay. I'll say it's a library. Okay. But you need to figure out to what extent you are correct that it's an external module. Okay. So any doubts, anything? Folks, any doubts? You can raise your hand and talk to me for 5 minutes. Yes, let me show you for reading the documentation a little bit properly. So if you come here, what did I told you what as a homework? First is, exploring UTF that you will do, that is for sure. But second thing is I told you append file system, right or wrong? 1 or 0 in the chat, quickly folks. So what you will do here is you will go to the documentation right here. Which module is this? What was the name of the module? How many of you remember file system? FS, right? File system. So it will highlight the file system for you. Inside file system, what did I told you to learn? Append, right? Append file. So here it is. Append file, right? So if you go here now, you will see fs.promises. No, we didn't. fs.append file, right or wrong, folks? This is where you will go inside it and try to, work with this. Okay, this is the first task. And then second one is crypto. Okay, explore this. Okay, crypto. I won't. Here is the crypto module. Okay, inside this, if you click on it, you will get to know what this crypto module is all about. Okay, I'm not going to give you a hint here. You need to explore this. Okay, okay. So I'll suggest one thing. Ritesh, your question, what's the difference between API and server? You will understand it. Okay. I told you, if we are talking about A and B, please don't ask questions about C because that is coming in the upcoming sessions. Okay. So one thing, okay, please note this part. Okay. Array, it's okay, Ritesh. No need to say sorry. So what I'm saying is, please pay attention to this. This is your first day. Don't procrastinate. Okay. Do your assignments and go through your live lecture. If you have attended the live lecture once, I'll highly recommend not to watch it again because you have understood the things. You are just not able to grasp them. You just need implementation. So I'll be sharing notes with you. In notes, everything will be there. So you can go through whatever we have learned today in just, 5 minutes, right? So it will save you a lot of time. But what I'm highly suggesting here is my advice, personal advice. Okay, please do the assignments. Okay, before coming to the next session. Are we aligned on this, folks? If you do these two things, you will become a backend developer at the end of this course. Okay, cool. When I said are we aligned on this, you just said one. Only one guy said one. What about others? और कोई? Okay. So one question from my side is, how many of you are not comfortable with the Hindi? Type 0 in the chat. Okay. Anyone else who is not comfortable with Hindi? Okay. Okay. Anyone who is not comfortable with English? Type 0 in the chat. Those who are comfortable with both, that is cool. That's not an issue. But anyone who is not comfortable with English, type 0 in the chat. Okay. Let me first, stop the recording because this is not of use.